All right, welcome to Halitics. I think we finally got a third time's a charm today. This is Thursday, the 6th day of November. The year is rapidly coming to an end. And I didn't even mention yesterday, although it was a good day. I was very pleased, mostly because of Mamdani's win. But all the election results were good, I thought. Even the New Jersey win by Mikey Sherrill, who the bloom for her is kind of off the rose as far as I'm concerned. She clearly was profiting from her time in Congress. Didn't really talk about that. I do think it's better that she be the representative in, well, she's not a representative. She's the executive in New Jersey, the most powerful person there. I guess I'd rather have her, all things equal, than Chiarelli. But yeah, she's pretty corrupt. Apparently, she made millions stock trading. I think she was called another Pelosi. A new Pelosi by the due distance bros. Doesn't seem unfair. Don't have all the facts. Don't want to be too determinative about that, but it doesn't look good in terms of some of her stock trades and those of her husband while she was in Congress. We'll find out. We'll have to keep an eye on that. I am pleased, though, certainly about Zohran Mamdani. Pleased that Proposition 50 passed in California, so that there can be a response to the naked gerrymandering by the Republicans in an attempt to keep the House in their hands next year after the midterms, regardless of the will of the people. So that's a good result, and obviously seeing Spanberger and the Virginia Dems do as well as they did also will help the Democrats, and more importantly, I think will hurt the Republicans as they, again, try to maintain control over all three branches of government, regardless of what the American people want. And I don't think this is what the American people want. We don't like the Democrats, but we sure as heck don't like this autocratic, immigrant-phobic, xenophobic, warmonger White House that we have right now. 240-242-5646. If you want to join me, please do click subscribe. I will be playing today from two of the, I think, the future leaders, if not the current leaders of the Democratic Party. Zohran Mamdani just winning the mayor-elect in New York City. And, of course, Graham Platner. We're hoping he can win despite the attacks on him, his Totenkopf, Nazi tattoo, call it what you want. That's certainly will impact on my voting. I support him next year in the primary against the septuagenarian governor, Janet Mills. I think she'd be a terrible choice for a lot of reasons for the Mainers to elect to run against Susan Collins. So hopefully we'll get Graham Platner. 240-242-5646. As we always do on Halitics, we are going to center, at least as we've been doing for years now, center the genocide in Gaza. Israel, this is during a ceasefire, right? Israel escalates southern Lebanon attacks. So I guess the ceasefire isn't in Lebanon as Gaza reels from lack of aid. And you continue to see the news there. Israeli forces now settlers the bottom 32 minutes ago, according to this slide here, and it was obviously about an hour and 32 minutes ago because I took the slide some time ago. This morning, Israeli forces settlers demolish homes near occupied East Jerusalem. So it's just so awful. And I called this, I think, democratic opportunity, golden opportunity for Dems. This is the opportunity. Americans are so horrified on both sides of the aisle. I'm not talking about the leadership class. I'm not talking about the billionaire elites who are profiting from genocide. I'm not talking about the relatively high percentage of Zionist billionaires, Jewish billionaires who fully embrace Israel. I'm not talking about that small minority of the American public. I'm talking about the voters, both Republican and Democrat. We can't stand what we're seeing. We find it so wrong, so reprehensible. I know some of you actually don't. I don't understand you. I can't fathom that. That indifference to cruelty to mass murder. But the bottom line is most Americans agree our policy pro-Israel regardless is wrong. Most Americans oppose that, and that is such a great opportunity if you'll just seize it, Democrats. But will they? They sure haven't yet. With few exceptions, you think the Mamdani win will hopefully embolden some progressives? We haven't seen from AOC, right? She had an opportunity, played the clip yesterday of her torching Marjorie Taylor Greene. I was pleased to see, by the way, revolutionary change, used to be generational change, the Jen Perlman channel, her and Peter. I was very pleased they called AOC a mean girl, the way she attacked Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't understand that, AOC. Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying she doesn't like the genocide. She doesn't like our support of Israel. She doesn't like the way Mike Johnson is trying to cut necessary support for poor, struggling, working class and senior Georgians when it comes to their health care. She's against that. Her own leader, she's taking him on. And instead of AOC welcoming that, she's attacking Greene's motives. That is such beyond just, it's personally unappealing. It's unattractive what AOC is doing. It's unsavory. Beyond all that, it's terrible politics. If you care about your constituents, it's terrible politics. If you care about winning the shutdown, it's terrible politics. You're pushing away somebody that you can work with. This is the exact opposite of what we're trying to accomplish here at Halitics, which is building bridges, building progressive coalitions, or building coalitions. They don't have to be progressive, building coalitions to accomplish progressive ends. I was really, really pleased to see this. Now, that doesn't mean that you reach across the aisle to right-wing lawmakers. That doesn't mean you try to work with corporate Dems. It means you talk to their supporters, their voters, not the donor class that is just in it for the money, that views politicians as investments. No, the individual voters. You talk to them. You talk to the groups that support politicians because they believe those politicians are on their side when they're not. That's how you win. I am so pleased with what Mamdani has done here. He, during the general election campaign, he did pivot to the center a little bit. He did reach out to the Wall Street billionaire class. He did talk to the grocery store owners. He said, hey, you don't have anything to worry. He talked to Jewish, the leaders, the Zionist leaders of Jewish communities, the fear mongers. He said, you don't have anything to fear from me. And I'm just hoping that was a ploy to look reasonable to them, to keep them from being fully 100% against him. Wouldn't have had much success. You saw the rabbis totally unite against him. But to the extent that maybe Mamdani fooled a few voters into believing, yeah, I'm not really that critical of Israel, and yeah, I'm not really going to raise taxes on the billionaires. To the extent he fooled a few of them so that they voted for him, I'm hoping that's what he was doing, fooling them, trying to make suckers and chumps of the billionaire class, of the genociders. Get them to think, oh yeah, I'm really not against you, and hopefully he is. Hopefully he's going to take on the malefactors of great wealth on Wall Street. Hopefully he's dead serious. If an Israeli war criminal sets foot in New York City, they're going to get arrested. Let's hope that's the case. Remember how Hillary Clinton, back in 2015, she had two speeches. She had the speech for the Wall Street billionaires, and she had the speech for the hoi polloi, the riffraff, the people that she was trying to persuade to vote for her. Now, we all know that the truth was what she told Wall Street. We all know that when she said, yeah, you don't have to worry about my regulating you or raising your taxes. Don't worry about that. I'm going to have to say a few things on the campaign trail that you may not like to hear. But remember, I'm just trying to get myself elected, which is to your benefit if I'm elected. I'm actually going to be there for you, kind of the way Obama bailed you out, not the underwater homeowners. This is what Hillary was telling the big banksters, the fraudsters. And by the way, Tom Hartman said in 2016, don't ever forget, Robert Reich said in 2016 that Hillary Clinton would be a great president. Somebody who said to the Wall Street billionaires, I'm going to be your president. And then said to the people they had exploited, I'm going to be your president. We know she was lying to the American people. Let's hope Zohran Mamdani was lying to the extent he was saying, yeah, I don't like the phrase globalize the intifada. I'm going to discourage its use. Let's hope he was full of crap. That's what we can only hope for. And his victory speech was not an olive branch to the 7 and 8 figure salary boys. Not at all. And that's what gives me so much hope. Talk is cheap. We'll see if he governs as he says he will. We can only hope. Fresh from a stunning victory, Mamdani said in a interview that his supporters wanted a politics of consistency and aggressive action, including on taxing the rich. 100%. An emboldened Mamdani sheds the conciliatory tone he was using up until the election. Let's hope that he maintains that pugnacious, combative, pro-worker posture. That's what the American people want. That's what our world needs. Here we go.
Thank you, my friends. The sun may have set over our city this evening, but as Eugene Debs once said, I can see the dawn of a better day for humanity.
All right, let me just stop it there for a minute. Really bold. First thing, he invokes Eugene Victor Debs, a socialist, right? Mamdani's a Democratic socialist. He's not running away from that. A union organizer, Eugene Debs, somebody who was out there for working people every day of his life, Eugene Debs. It's a bold move. Mamdani could have embraced an FDR, an Eleanor Roosevelt. They could have been the first, former leader, deceased leader, whatever, dead leader that he quotes. But he went further to the left. He went with Debs. That's pretty damn awesome, actually. It really is.
For as long as we can remember, the working people of New York have been told by the wealthy and the well-connected that power does not belong in their hands.
That's a really, really strong. What does he do? He makes it immediately about class. He says this is a class war. The Bill Ackmans, right? The gamblers, the short timers, the Jamie Dimons. They've told you, they've said to you, you don't get control over your lives. You're our pawns. You're our, puppets. You jump when we say so. If you want to eat, if you want to live, you do what we tell you. And that's exactly true. That's the fact. And Mamdani's taking that on. He's making that the centerpiece of his speech. That's damn impressive. I mean, these are people, the people he's going after right there. The wealthy, the well-connected. The Cuomos, the Schumers, the Bloombergs. These are people who could make his life really difficult, or they could make his life really easy, the way they made Barack Obama's life so easy, so comfortable. And at least in this moment, Mamdani is saying, no, I get it. There's only so much pie. And you guys have slices that are way, way, way too big. And I'm going to take some of that pie back and give it to the people of the city of New York. That's a really gutsy way to start your mayoralty. And couldn't be happier.
Fingers bruised from lifting boxes on the warehouse floor.
I want to repeat this part for a second, because this is really, he is leaning into his working class supporters. And it's beautiful. Again, I don't get too ahead of myself. This is purely rhetoric. But if he governs this way, if he actually pits the poor, struggling, and working class of New York against the billionaires, things could really get better. I heard Blakely, she does some really cool stuff on YouTube, say that she just wanted to be there in that room celebrating it, because maybe things can really get better. And the fact is, I think so many working middle class people who are upper middle class, people like me who are comfortable, I may intellectually get that it's so hard for so many Americans. I get it. And I can even empathize. I can put myself in their shoes. I think a lot of people can't even do that. I can. But I don't really know what it's like to worry about paying the rent. Not really sure. I don't know what it's like to think my kids might be homeless one day. Even times when, I was a small business owner, owned a KRXA radio station for years. Even when we had some rough patch, it was tough. It was a tough business, lost money. I always knew I wasn't going to be homeless. I always knew there were places I could go, a family that would take care of me. I always knew that. There are tens of millions, probably over 100 million Americans who don't know that. They're simply not secure, and that's not right. And Zohran Mamdani gets that.
From lifting boxes on the warehouse floor, palms calloused from delivery bike handlebars, knuckles scarred with kitchen burns. These are not hands that have been allowed to hold power. And yet, over the last 12 months, you have dared to reach for something greater. Tonight, against all odds, we have grasped it. The future is in our hands.
All right, so really, really strong. And, he says the future's in our hands. We can only hope. We can only hope that he is going to be able to leverage the support, the majority of votes that he garnered, the fact that he is morally right, into truly pro-people, pro-worker, pro-consumer policies. We'll see. The jury's out. We got more here. He's pretty explicit. One of the things I don't like, and I've always said this, I just, the platitudes, the mealy mouth statements, the inability to clarify exactly what your plans are. We saw that on full display, of course, in the 2024 presidential election on the Democratic side. But we see that over and over with the Schumers, the Jeffries, even the AOCs, the pivot away from the question to answer a question that you want to answer, to give a spin that you want to give. Mamdani's pretty clear here. Let's play a little more.
For years, those in City Hall have only helped those who can help them. But on January 1st, we will usher in a city government that helps everyone. Now, I know that many have heard our message only through the prism of misinformation. Tens of millions of dollars have been spent to redefine reality and to convince our neighbors that this new age is something that should frighten them. As has so often occurred, The billionaire class has sought to convince those making $30 an hour that their enemies are those earning $20 an hour.
So I love this because this is what I talk about all the time. The way elites try to pit you against folks who have similar class interests, who would benefit from the exact same policies that would benefit you. And I've used that quote by Thomas Watson, the populist in the 19th century South, the end of the century, when he talked about the bankers, the financial elites, who pit blacks and whites against each other so they could maintain their stranglehold on both. And I love that Zohran is making that same exact message, giving that same exact pitch. He's saying, we're not going to do that. We're going to unite poor, struggling, working class, middle class New Yorkers against the elites, against the billionaires. That's what we want. That is what we've been dying for. All right, let's play a little more here.
We will hold bad landlords to account because the Donald Trumps of our city have grown far too comfortable taking advantage of their tenants.
I want to stop it there for a second. I love that he uses Trump as a stand-in for the New York City billionaires. Trump is a New York City billionaire, of course. The bad landlords. Now, the centerpiece, or at least what's been presented as the centerpiece of his plan for affordable housing, has been rent freezes. That's going to affect maybe 1 million or so apartments in New York City, so not the majority. I'm not a huge fan of rent freezes. I think they cause problems as well as provide some solutions. But what we have to bear in mind is that Mamdani has talked quite a bit about not just rent freezes, but building more affordable houses, incentivizing more affordable houses, and also making sure that New Yorkers are making enough money so they can pay rent for affordable housing. So it's not just about rent freezes. I really appreciate that about Mamdani. I hope he's going to continue that.
Put an end to the culture of corruption that has allowed billionaires like Trump to evade taxation and exploit tax breaks.
So really strong stuff, again, going right after Trump. Very smart, by the way, politically to do that. Trump obviously really unpopular in New York City especially, but across the country. So I give him a ton of credit, Mamdani, for doing that. And it by the way, his campaigning. Now, this is a big deal. You know, the fact is he won a majority of the vote, but it's a big deal. He also won a majority of the black vote. What you're hearing from his detractors, right? Those who are trying desperately to minimize the meaning of his win is, well, he got a bunch of these like disaffected youth, yuppie types, highly educated, overeducated, undercompensated people who are just mad because they didn't get the brass ring, but they really are privileged. They really have it good. But those who really know, the real blue collar workers, the black voters, they get it. They didn't vote for Mamdani. They know they're better off with Cuomo. Well, apparently they don't know that, because you can see here, and this is from the GRIA, which is a African-American journal. Nope, Mamdani won black and youth vote to make history. And it's pretty impressive because Cuomo really blew Mamdani's doors off in the Democratic primary with the black vote. So it's very, very heartening to see that whatever concerns many African-American voters had, I would assume the black church played a role in that. Mamdani being a Muslim may have caused some trepidation within the black churches. I'm really, really pleased to see they were able to put aside whatever concerns they might have had about his identity and recognize how important his policies are and how important they are towards making New York a better place for all New Yorkers, especially those who have not benefited from all that wealth that Wall Street has amassed in the past 200 years. 240-242-5646. I may cut this off a little bit earlier than I would normally I've got an appointment at 1, and we started the program a little late, so unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to continue probably past 1. So if you have a quick call, I'll take it, 240-242-5646. We got about 7 more minutes. I want to play this video. Here is the other Democratic man that I think really should be viewed, should be embraced as the future of the party, and that is absolutely Graham Platner. So impressive. Remember Kamala? Well, we'll start with her. Let's just start with her. Kamala, yeah, Liz was there for her. They were out there having a blast. I remember when Kamala Harris was with Liz Cheney, she just seemed so happy, so comfortable. This is her meet, right? Another elite woman, another woman who has it really, really good. Just like Kamala. Kamala was her husband, a multimillionaire, a big shot lawyer. And she and Liz really hit it off. And that's fine. She should have whoever friend she wants. But when you're running for president, you got to recognize that the Cheneys were bad for America. They're bad people. They're hurtful people. They're destructive people. And Kamala totally didn't get that. And that's why she's not president. That's exactly why she's not president, because she just simply could not fathom what life was like for those not as fortunate as she. She could not fathom the harm that the elites have done to the American people and around the world. That's why she was like, oh, let's talk about Israel. What happened to Israel on October 7th? Let's be clear. This all started with Hamas, which it wasn't true at all. But she was perfectly happy communicating that lie that the Israeli genocide of Gaza was really the fault of Hamas. She was very happy staying that lie because she's part of the class that created the environment that allowed this to happen. And she just isn't able to break out of that in any way. I was pleased to see. Now look, again, talk is cheap. And Graham Platner is not part of that political class. He is from a very different class. So who knows? If he wins, just like with our friend Zohran, things may be very, very different when if Graham Platner becomes the next U.S. Senator from the great state of Maine, the ocean. Is it the ocean state? I always get confused. I think Rhode Island may be the ocean state, the pine tree state of Maine. But I am so pleased with what he had to say here.
Hey everyone, Graham Platner here. Usually when a former vice president passes, we all take some time to mourn. As a veteran of the Iraq War, I'm going to say, no, not this time. Over the next couple days, I'm sure there are going to be thousands of think pieces written about his legacy, but the only legacy that we have to remember is that he wasted thousands of young American lives, hundreds of thousands of Iraqi lives, and trillions of dollars for absolutely nothing. If we take anything away from this, it should be that we need to build a politics that keeps the politicians like Susan Collins, who support illegal foreign wars like the one in Iraq, accountable and get them out of office.
What a great, great, great message. Just so powerful. He ties it together with his campaign at the end. He goes after somebody who's extremely unpopular, extremely disliked. He takes advantage of the fact that the American public can't stand this interlocking mutual admiration society among warmonger Dems and warmonger Republicans. Such a good message. Obviously, going right after the Kamala Harrises of the world, the Schumers, the Hillarys of the world who supported that war, the Joe Bidens of the world who voted for that war. Very, very strong, very, very correct message. And you can see now, this is the only reasonable poll. There are two polls I found. And I want to just talk about it because the question is, will Democratic Party leaders do the right thing? Will they recognize that the path to power is by following Graham Platner, is by following the lead of Zohran Mamdani, of letting them be the leaders of the party? Will they get that? I doubt it. This poll came out the end of October. Platner up 58 to 24 over the governor, more than doubling her and that's a respected pollster, as I understand, University of New Hampshire. Now, there's a caveat. The caveat is that all the poop that hit the fan regarding the Totenkopf, I'm not even going to call it a Nazi, the Totenkopf tattoo was right after this poll was taken. And there was a second poll that was convened afterwards, and that was by a group called SoCal. And SoCal found in the midst of this crisis, when Platner's popularity might have been at an ebb, when he was getting it all in the neck, that in that moment, Janet Mills had leapfrogged over him and was actually leading by 5 points. Now, I want to make a few points. It's October 25th. So just 4 days later, but you saw a big reversal. If the SoCal poll is to be trusted, and many say it's not, it was an online-only poll, which are generally discounted, not viewed as particularly reliable or credible. Online-only polls, there's an awful lot of self-selection, people who want to be counted. We don't know who even knew about that poll. It's not like a phone call poll where you get a call and you don't even know you're going to get called and you're going to get polled. So the SoCal Strategies poll is dubious. It does show a 5-point lead for Mills, which is actually quite small when you're in the midst of controversy involving Platner. Oh, he's a Nazi, right? I mean, that's not going to help you. And even in that unreliable poll, in the midst of the worst possible time for Platner, he's only down by 5. But what's even more interesting is if you look at young voters. According to SoCal Strategies, not the most reliable pollster, his popularity, that is Platner's, remained totally solid among younger voters. You can see the red at the top. He totally outpoints her, 56 to 70 among voters 18 to 29, who are the exact voters, young men without a college degree especially, who moved towards Trump. So you have a chance in a Graham Platner to capture voters you lost, to reach out to a new demographic. You got to embrace that. You got to do that, Democrats. Platner represents exactly what the American public want. A progressive populist on economic matters who's saying, let's stop all that spending on foreign wars, on killing. Let's spend it at home. My gosh, let's hope Democrats learn from Mamdani's great win and from Platner's brilliant campaign. If not, I really do fear for our country. I fear for our world. I don't know that we can survive a bad presidential election in 28, regardless of whether it's a Democrat who somehow wins or just yet another Republican. We've got to move in a different direction. Let's hope Mamdani and Platner will lead us in that better direction. Enjoy your afternoon, and thank you so much.